Good evening and thanks for joining us for CBS News Detroit at 7. I'm Amir Makupson. Hundreds are expected to pay their final respects tonight and tomorrow to two of the three Michigan State University students killed in Monday's deadly mass shooting. The funeral for Alexandra Verner, a junior from Clawson, will happen tomorrow as hundreds gather tonight to honor Brian Frazier, a sophomore, also in Grosse Pointe. Here's our Andres Gutierrez.
It's devastating for the community here and for the parish because he's known by so many people, and it's just very difficult. People are struggling.
Over the last several days, St. Paul on the Lake Catholic Church has brought comfort and hope to those hurting over the passing of MSU sophomore Brian Frazier.
So when we were here on Tuesday, we were to pray for the repose of the soul of Brian, pray for the family, and then we pray for each other and support each other as a community of faith.
The church saw Brian grow up before them. It's where he was baptized, received communion, and attended school through the 8th grade.
At the funeral mass itself, that is when we focus on the resurrection of Jesus Christ and his conquering darkness with the light, and then how Brian is incorporated into that light because of his faith in the sacraments of the church and his parents' witness to that faith in his life.
Besides Brian's devotion to his faith, friends have described him as a leader, doing several service projects during his time in the youth ministry program and serving as president of the Phi Delta Theta fraternity at MSU while studying business.
He was kind, he was a light, and now he's the glue, and he's going to be the glue for this community, and everyone's going to miss him.
Strangers and loved ones alike will say their final goodbyes at St. Paul tomorrow morning.
We're prepared as best we can to accommodate as many people as we can in the church, in the gathering space, and we have speakers outside, even if people have to stay outside.
All to honor a life cut short by a senseless act of violence.
So as a community, if we are going to show that we're going to overcome this, then we need to be a people of hope, and that we're going to turn this tragedy and we're going to look for the grace and the goodness that can come from it.
Tomorrow, there will be a vigil for Ariel Anderson, one of the three students who were killed on campus. It will be held at the First English Lutheran Church at 5 o'clock on Verner Road in Grosse Pointe Woods. That's across the street from where Anderson graduated high school only 2 years ago. An MSU professor who was an eyewitness to Monday's mass shooting is now describing his horrifying experience. Marco Diaz Munoz, was midway through his Cuban literature class when the gunman opened fire inside of his classroom in Berkeley Hall. Two of his students were killed. Now here's his account of what happened.
So he entered the classroom from through the back door. Where a lot of the students that don't sit in the front, they sit in by that back door. And at that moment, we all kind of froze. I think somebody said something about, a shooter, and one of my students, and everybody panicked. Some froze. I think a lot of them stood up. Some of them froze in place. Some of them, I don't know if I screamed, just find cover, go under the desks. A lot of them went under, curled up in a ball and under their chairs, and others run. And the guy stepped in about a foot inside the classroom, not completely, just like a foot. And then, or even less than a foot, enough that I could see this figure, and it was so horrible because when you see someone who's totally masked, you don't see their face, you don't see their hands, you don't see it. It was like seeing a robot. It was like seeing something not human, standing there, and all I could see was this silvery, kind of a steel, shiny weapon. I don't think it was a pistol. I think it was something larger than that. And then I could hear then the shots, and they were just as loud as the ones in the hallway. And it was just a nightmare. I think everybody under adrenaline did whatever they could. I don't know how long he stood there. Probably, I mean, he shot at least 15 shots. One after the other, one after the other, one after the other.
Bang, 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 bang.
He stepped out. And at that moment, because I don't recall what I did between his starting to shoot and what I'm going to tell you just now, my intuition told me he's walking down the hall and he's going to enter through the door I'm closest to. So I threw myself at that door and I squatted and I held the door like this so that my weight would keep it from, and I was putting my foot on the wall and holding like this so that he couldn't open it. All the time aware that he could just shoot the door handle and open it. But the only thing I thought I could do was that. At least I'll attempt to stop it. And that lasted for about 10 minutes. It was an eternity, or 12 minutes. In the meantime, I told my students, and that I remember, I told the students, just escape through the windows, just kick the windows open and escape through the windows. And the first line of windows closer to the rows of seats couldn't be kicked. I mean, couldn't be broken. They are made out of very hard glass, probably for insulation. So they attempted. They couldn't open those. But then the second set of windows higher up, they were open, and there was big enough an opening, so they started escaping that way. In the meantime, the rest, there were quite a few on the floor, wounded, and I had some kids that were very heroic, and we're helping those that were wounded. And some of them, I don't know much about how to, what a paramedics do or what you do in a situation like that. But my students kind of knew what to do. So they were trying to cover the wounds with their hands so they didn't bleed to death. I think I'll be haunted by it. I definitely don't want to go to Berkey Hall because I couldn't go into that classroom after what I saw. I think the administration is going to move my class to a different building, same time but a different building. I don't know if I'll be nervous every time I teach. I don't know if I will. I don't know what the university is going to do, if they're going to put locks in rooms so that you can lock the room from the inside. I think that's one of the things that might happen. I don't know. That means we're going to have to use gate cards to enter into a building and leave. But what does that say about our society?
We are going to dive back into this a lot more over the next hour. Coming up, we'll be joined by the mother of a Michigan State University student. Stay with us.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this, and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right. Local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit. Live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit. On your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live,
We're here for you.
making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit. Live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit. On your block, around the clock in Oakland County. It's here. The news, CBS News Detroit.
Covering every corner of our community.
With experienced journalists, uncovering the stories that truly matter to you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
And weather experts, always looking ahead to prepare you for what's next. Live, streaming, and on demand. With more hours of local news coming soon.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it. Right here on CBS News Detroit.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 11. And streaming live.
Michigan State University is expected to resume classes on Monday for the first time since that deadly mass shooting took place on campus when a gunman killed 3 students and wounded 5 others. But many students say they don't feel comfortable and they need more time to heal. Our Ray Strickland spoke with 2 students who said just that.
The university's student newspaper is really capturing the feelings of many students here at MSU. In an article, the editorial board wrote that students lost their home, their school, and of course their sense of safety because of this mass shooting. And going back to class on Monday or even Tuesday for that matter is just too soon. Now, I spoke to students personally and they told me they just need more time to heal.
There are still students who are traumatized from this.
Days after the mass shooting at Michigan State University, students continue to gather to remember the lives lost. Mourning victims Brian Frazier, Ariel Anderson, and Alexandria Verner, standing in silence, still dealing with their grief as they look for a path forward. And while they continue to process the trauma, students are asking for the university to give them more time to heal. Right now, the plan is for students to return to classes on Monday, but sophomore Connor Lay says that's too soon.
Especially with it only being like a week since what happened, because I know people who have like exams next week who are saying I shouldn't be studying for an exam right now, especially since what happened.
The university's student newspaper is also advocating for at least another week before classes resume. The editorial board writing some students feel like they can never step foot on campus again.
I told my students that I'm here whether we have class or not if they need to talk to anybody.
M.L. Elric is a journalism professor at the school. He also has a daughter who is a student. He says she's still dealing with a range of emotions as a result of shooting. Elric says the university shouldn't rush the return to classes if students aren't ready.
There's just nothing we can do except sort of let them guide us and tell us what they're ready for.
MSU sophomore Matthew Zivian says he hopes students are a part of the decision-making process.
Students should be consulted. There's no point in speculating when we are here to have that conversation.
Now, the university said earlier this week the plan is for classes to resume on Monday, but right now it's unclear if that plan will continue as is. But what is clear is that students are uncomfortable about returning back to campus, and they're just hoping the university listens to their concerns. Reporting in East Lansing, Ray Strickland, CBS News Detroit.
Joining us now is Tonya Hickman. She has a daughter at Michigan State who's a freshman. She's also a principal at a Southfield Elementary School, Stevenson to be exact. Tonya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we were talking about this a little bit earlier, even with your daughter, Destiny, who's a freshman.
Yes.
Monday feels too soon.
Absolutely, definitely. Just tonight, yesterday was a better day, but tonight she's feeling some anxiety about returning to class. And so I'm just hoping that Michigan State give the kids just a little bit more time to heal from this or come to terms. We know the sun will shine again at some point, but I think we need just a little bit more time, maybe another week.
Yeah, I agree. But where was she when all of this happened?
So she was in her dorm, actually. She had just returned from class, and her dorm is East Holmes, which is on the eastern part of campus. And so at that time, we were actually on the phone having a conversation. And she said, Mom, did you just get an alert from Michigan State? I said, well, let me look. And it said, run, hide. And I said, Destiny, that means it's serious. When you hear those words, that means it's serious. She was like, no, Mom, we always get alerts. I don't think this is serious. And so I convinced her to cut the lights down, pull her blinds, but she was most concerned about her roommate, Emma. And so once we got Emma into the room, they went into lockdown.
And were you on the phone the whole time? How did that go?
I was on the phone at that point with her until Emma came into the room. She was very scared. I think the anxiety has started to set in. I guess she could hear the fear in my voice. Just as a school principal myself, when you hear those words to hide, protect yourself, she received a message from her RA, and her RA told them to board the doors, block the doors, and protect yourself, be quiet, cut your phones off, cut the lights on your phone. And so at that point, it became real for them.
Yeah, we've heard a lot from students and administrators even about what happened, but to be a parent not near East Lansing and get a text like that, how did that affect you? What were you thinking, run, fight, hide? What were you thinking?
I felt powerless as a parent. I immediately got on the phone to call my husband to say, I need you home, because I have no idea what to do. How do I help her get through this situation? And so it was quite scary because I didn't have the words. I just said we have to pray and we have to lend to our faith at this point, because that's all we had left at this point, because we were receiving alerts not to come to campus, not to come to campus. And so that was quite scary. That was the worst 4 hours of my life.
And then the following morning you did go to campus. You were able to pick her and some friends up. What was that like? What was the atmosphere like?
It was definitely very somber. I sat in the vehicle for a while and just kind of watched, just to kind of observe the atmosphere. And I saw families pulling up, embracing their children. I also saw some students that were bringing everything out of the dorm. And so it gave me the impression that these kids were completely moving out.
Yeah.
And I talked to my daughter's roommate mom, and we just kind of talked about, let's give the girls some time to make a decision, but moving out of campus or moving out of the dorm was just not the answer at that moment.
Yeah.
We don't want to become desensitized to what is happening in the world. However, with time, hopefully, we can get the girls back to campus.
When did you all receive the message that everything was fine?
So it was just about maybe 12:30 a.m. And just before we received the all clear, my daughter sent me a text and she said, Mom, someone is outside the door. Could he be outside the door? And that moment is when I completely lost it.
Yeah.
I completely lost it, and I think my husband did as well. And so she said, call the police and tell them we need help. Later to discover that it was probably the FBI or the police clearing their floor.
Right, but you don't know that.
You don't know. You don't know. And at that point, she was barricaded in the room. And her and her roommate was stuck in the corner in maybe a 2 feet by 2 feet space.
Yeah.
And they were sitting there hugging and together and just kind of praying through this matter.
And when you finally got her home, what was she doing?
So the first 24 hours, she did not come out of her room. And so I kept going in like, come on, it's time, get up, shower, let's have dinner. And she just wanted to sleep. She said, I just need to process everything that has happened. And so it was tough to see her go through this. I couldn't identify because I've never been through a situation like this, but I just felt her pain and I just didn't know the right words to say, but that I love you and that we are going to do everything we can to make sure you have the support needed to get through this.
Yeah.
And I always tell her the sun will shine again. No matter how bad things get, the sun will always come out again.
It will, and we're going to talk more about this and more about your daughter Destiny in just a bit, so stay with us. And for you at home too, Tonya is going to stay with us, and we're going to be joined by a social worker as well, so stay tuned.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right. Local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit. live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit. Live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County. It's here, the new CBS News Detroit.
Covering every corner of our community.
With experienced journalists, uncovering the stories that truly matter to you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
And weather experts, always looking ahead to prepare you for what's next. Live, streaming, and on demand, with more hours of local news coming soon.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it, right here on CBS News Detroit.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 11, and streaming live.
On Wednesday, thousands gathered outside the Rock on campus for a candlelight vigil. There, they honored those lost, leaned on one another, and asked if anything will really change from this tragedy. Our Kelly Vaughn was there and spoke to those in attendance.
To those we have lost, and to those who now heal, we stand Spartan strong. Those are the words now painted on the Rock, and is the message to the thousands at the MSU Vigil. Kate and Lauren Brucank are sisters and MSU students. They are third-generation Spartans, following in the steps of their parents and their grandparents.
It's just out of everywhere it happened here kind of feeling. Just, you never think that it's going to be where you are.
Lauren is a freshman. During Monday's mass shooting, she was hiding in her dorm, alone, in the dark.
I'm just in my room looking at my window, making sure they're closed. It's like, am I doing enough?
Her sister Kate is a junior. She says mass shootings are a reality they've had to reckon with since they were kids.
Unfortunately, we haven't seen much lasting change or any change really that has prevented these from happening, so it's still our reality, and it just kind of builds this sense of cynicism within our generation.
Students have been supporting one another, but there's a type of support only a mother can give. Heather and Marissa hold signs offering free mom hugs.
I just made sure that I whispered to each one how proud I was of them, that they were so brave at a time when they just shouldn't have to be.
Their signs read, "I'll hold you tight until you let go," just like a mom would do if she were here.
Several students breaking down when we were just hugging them tightly. They just needed that reassurance that hopefully everything's going to be okay.
Both women say it's been incredibly hard watching young people go through this again.
Thoughts and prayers aren't working. Our children are dying. This is not okay.
Thoughts and prayers are not, I understand. Joining us now is Naomi Schwartz, a social worker and mental health clinician with Bloomfield Child and Family Counseling. Naomi, thank you so much for joining us. You could see in the students there the trauma that still obviously is bubbling up. How do you even begin to address that?
Yeah, it's really a process. It's really important to really take the time to process that trauma. It's something that will stick with us for a while. It really changes our whole entire sense of safety. So I think it's really important to bring it back to connection, to really going back to that sense of safety, whatever that is for you. So if that's going back to being with your loved ones, spending time with them, spending time with friends, doing what you can to process through how you're feeling in whatever way that is. So for some people, that is doing things like vigils and trying to advocate for change. For others, they might need to process it in other ways with family and with friends, and taking time away so that they can get back to feeling that sense of safety.
Keeping that in mind, what are your thoughts about classes resuming on Monday? Mind you, this happened this week.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, that's really just too soon. You know, we have a stress response that happens in our body, a traumatic stress response that creates physical and emotional changes, you know, in our body and our brain when something like this happens. So it takes some time for us to work through that and to really get our body back in balance. And for a lot of people, a week is not going to be enough time to really get back to that sense of safety they need to continue on through their day. And when we are feeling unsafe, when we are feeling anxious or stressed, we are not able to learn. We're not able to feel safe. And so learning can't really be done when you're feeling that way. So for a lot of kids, I think it really is too soon to go back to that.
Devil's advocate, though, I've been told that sometimes when things happen, you just got to keep swimming, as they say. I'll revert back to Nemo. Is that healthy to just keep going?
Yeah, there is something to be said for getting back to routines, because those routines are also what create that sense of safety for us and really help us, you know, remain connected to our community, to our friends, to what we're doing. But again, for a lot of people, a week is just really so soon to jump back into that and go through those emotions, especially when you're right back to where it all happened. And so that can sometimes bring back those stress responses that we haven't even fully worked through yet. And then you're kind of back in that environment, and that can kind of create those stress responses to spike again. So it's a balance between really working through that trauma and then getting back into your routines once you feel ready.
When is the trauma so significant that you probably need some additional help to work through it?
I think if it's something that you're feeling like you can't handle on your own, if you're having any suicidal thoughts or thoughts of self-harm, or if you're having a lot of intrusive thoughts, or it's really disrupting your sleeping patterns, your eating patterns, and after, you know, with support, if you've had support from your family and friends and you're still really struggling, then that's really the time to reach out to a professional to really help you process what's going on.
And the sense of community, though, that can sometimes come out of moments like that, are there things that people maybe who weren't there, like me or you, could say or do for others who were, to kind of help them navigate what's to come?
I think, you know, again, just going back to whatever it is that you need. You know, if you feel like you need space, that's what you need. If you feel like you need to reach out and have the supportive community, then that's okay too. If you need the support of a professional, whatever it is that you feel like will help you in that moment and help you get back to that sense of safety is what I would encourage everyone to do.
But if you know somebody who was there and who right now is trying to process as an outsider, how can you help them?
I think just really validating the feelings, whatever that person is feeling, it's super important to validate that. Sometimes we're quick to really kind of dismiss those feelings or move past it because it's uncomfortable and really hard for us to talk about. It's hard for us to really understand, you know, as you know, adults, what happened when there's something like this that goes on. And so for younger kids and siblings that are impacted, it's really, really hard for them to really grasp this kind of tragedy. So really acknowledging those feelings, whatever those feelings are, and not just dismissing past them, can help with that healing process as well. But it's also important as caregivers and parents and educators that we really also monitor our own emotions, because our kids will pick up on our own emotions as well. So really making sure that we're monitoring and taking care of ourselves as well as the helpers in situations is also super important, because then you can really be there for the people that need you.
Yeah, and speaking about parents and kids, we're going to talk more about that coming up. Principal Hickman will join us again, and we'll get some tips and advice on how to even navigate these conversations with the young minds. So we have plenty more coming up for CBS News at 7. Stay with us.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this, and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right, local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County. It's here, the new CBS News Detroit.
Covering every corner of our community.
With experienced journalists, uncovering the stories that truly matter to you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
And weather experts, always looking ahead to prepare you for what's next. Live, streaming, and on demand. With more hours of local news coming soon.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it. Right here on CBS News Detroit.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 11, and streaming live.
Yesterday, we sat down with Al Shanuda, a former security advisor for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and he's also a former command officer with Detroit Police. He explained the significance and the importance. You heard Tonya say it, run, hide, fight, which was part of the alert that was sent to the MSU campus on the night of that shooting. Here's what he said.
And you see why that's what everyone landed on. 3 words, run, hide, fight. It's very simple to remember. In a fast-paced, terrifying life or death situation, is it the simplicity of it that you will remember it,
yes,
even years later after you've learned it?
So there's an element of stickiness. So those other methodologies that were being developed at the time, there were multiple acronyms and, more complex acronyms. We had to keep it very, very simple to have that element of stickiness, especially under crisis. And we had to drill it over and over again. So Run, Hide, Fight was basically being developed and then became part of the national rollout. The same time that we were developing the S4 campaign, which is the national campaign, if you see something, say something. It's called the S4 campaign. So both of them were basically on parallel tracks, and then they basically, premiered in the United States relatively at the same time. So one was for obviously specific activity reporting, and then the other one is basically surviving active shooter and other active assailant events.
We are joined back again now with Naomi and Tonya, and we have you both here because you work with children. And when you hear that, run, hide, fight, Naomi, I'll start with you. Those words, they're strong words. So what does that signify for a child when hearing that?
I think for kids it can be very scary when you use the words run, hide, fight, and it's really impacted a lot of our kids in school. But it really is all about how the school presents the training as well, and how they present this message, how they deliver it, which can make all the difference in how kids are handling it.
Right, and Principal Hickman, how do you handle that with the children?
So what we did in the very beginning of the school year, we had a school assembly, and we talked about the Alice motto, putting a heavy emphasis on evacuate. And we talked about, we took it a step further, that we have to empower ourselves because we know it's safer to get out. And so it was some intense conversations, not only with our scholars, but with the adults in the building, feeling a sense of how do I empower myself to take those kids and get out of the building. So it's definitely something that has put a huge impact, and we've had many conversations with our parents about it. The goal is to get out.
It is, and so make sure everybody understands, because even I didn't. Alice training, and thank you for my cheat sheet, alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. When I first heard, even as a parent, that this was happening in elementary schools, my initial reaction was, oh, that might be too scary. It might be too soon. Have you talked to parents who felt similarly?
Definitely. We had some parents who had some reservations, like, aren't these conversations a little deep for kids? But this is the world we live in. And so we do a lot of practice at school. We have those uncomfortable conversations, and we followed up with literature to support it. Breaking news, what do you do when your world falls apart around you, or when there's a crisis situation? So we always follow up with a good piece of literature for the students, and we ask our parents to work shoulder to shoulder with us so that we can help our kids get through. This is the world we're in now, unfortunately. Doesn't make me feel good as a parent.
No.
Even though my children are basically grown now, but it's still scary.
It is very.
It's
So
very
Naomi,
scary.
when you're having these difficult conversations, how or what tips or advice, are there certain phrases you should stay away from, anything?
Yeah, well, I think with kids in school, it's really important to just remind them, just like we practice fire drills and tornado drills, this is just another drill that's meant to keep you safe. You know, we do those drills to keep us safe, and kids are kind of used to those. So I think just reminding them we do this to keep you safe. And it's really important, too, to really keep reminding them of all the ways we are safe in school. You know, how the teachers keep them safe, all the things that we have in place. Bringing it back to that sense of safety can really help them understand why we're doing it instead of focusing on the scary part of it.
And I think it's probably more the parents who have a problem with it, because unfortunately for them, this is a part of, like you said, fire drill training, tornado training, Alice training. It's just all a part of it. But is that going to have a long-term effect on our kids in terms of fear or mental health?
I think we're seeing, you know, there's a lot of things right now that have had a lot of long-term impact on our kids, especially since COVID. So we're seeing, you know, a lot of that going on, and working both in the school setting and at a private practice clinic. I see, you know, kids coming in, and I also see kids at school, and I'm a parent myself to 3 kids. So I see it in my own kids when they go through these drills. So I think it is something that is changing, you know, how we approach school and safety and how we're feeling. But like Tonya said, it's something that's absolutely necessary right now, because this is the reality, unfortunately, of the world we live in. Until something else changes to prevent these things, this is kind of where we're at, and we have to prepare our kids as best we can.
Do you think the kids are taking it seriously?
I think so, absolutely, absolutely. We have spent a lot of time working on drills and practice. We've talked about in the event that something happens, for real, the kids know exactly what those words are that we use. And here's what makes you feel good as a school administrator, when kids will write you a note and say, I think I feel safe with you. If something ever happens, I know you will protect me. And so
that's wonderful.
That makes you feel good, because most administrators, that is a non-negotiable for us. We are going to do everything we can to make sure that our scholars are safe.
Yeah,
So,
and it's just one of those things we have to do and will continue to do. Well, I'm so happy that you both are here. We're going to continue this conversation and find out how even you're empowering some teachers, things that they have, and ways that children can grieve. So you definitely don't want to go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right, local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County. It's here, the new CBS News Detroit.
Covering every corner of our community.
With experienced journalists, uncovering the stories that truly matter to you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
And weather experts, always looking ahead to prepare you for what's next. Live, streaming, and on demand. With more hours of local news coming soon.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it. Right here on CBS News Detroit.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 11, and streaming live.
Welcome back. Tonya and Naomi are here with me again, and we want to talk a little bit now about the stuff that you keep in the classroom in case something has to happen.
Yes. So after our ALICE training, there was some intense conversations with teachers like, okay, Mrs. Hickman, here are a list of things that we need. And so what we prepared is every classroom has a backpack. In that backpack, we have emergency contact information for every child because we have to know who is in that classroom.
Yeah.
We also provide a first aid kit. And we also have a glass breaker. One of my staff members said, I would feel more comfortable if we had a glass breaker. So every teacher in their bag, they have a glass breaker. So for some reason, we know the goal is to empower ourselves to get out, to evacuate. So whatever we need to do to get out, they have all of those tools in their backpack and they lay on top of their desk in every single classroom, and this gives our teachers a sense of security.
Which I agree with, but Naomi, if it's out on the desk and everybody sees it all day, every day, could that possibly make them more afraid?
I think it depends how it's presented. Again, everything's kind of about the message and how you deliver it. If it's something that's just there, I know in a school I'm at, they're in backpacks just kind of hanging there, so it just kind of blends into the whole school and everything there. So if it's something that's kind of where you can grab and go, I think it's good because, again, going back to what you can control, that helps us feel safe when we can have control. So I think having it in a place where it's easy to access and grab can help us feel more in control, which can help us with that sense of safety in the whole classroom.
Is there something to be said about just being honest with them about it? This is what the bag is, this is what it's for.
Yeah, I think so, because again, kids are very perceptive. They're very, they know what's going on, they know what these things are for, even if we don't say it. So when we are honest and upfront as much as we can on an age-appropriate level, it makes them feel safer and feel like they can trust us and feel safe in our care as educators and as helpers.
Now, Tonya, do the students think that should something happen, can they go into that bag?
So the bag, the teacher will typically take the bag with them, but believe it or not, during all of our drills, anytime we exit the building, even on a fire drill, the bag accompanies the teacher. Okay. And so the kids will say, Ms. Hickman, such and such didn't have their bag today. So it is a part of our culture in our building.
Something that was interesting that I had not thought about until you and I spoke the other day, that with the student body, with the teachers, former Spartans, some have siblings who are who were up there or their parents who worked there. How were you able to comfort those students? Because I'm sure they were a little bit more on edge than the others.
Absolutely. We had our social worker available on hand. We did some small group conversations and just embracing. We hugged, we cried a little bit. It was a very full day on Monday when the kids came back to school. So it was a full day. And so we just kind of talked through it. Even during recess time, some kids came to say, hey, I know Miss Destiny is at MSU, is she okay? And so just having those conversations, as Naomi mentioned earlier, is very important. And so we have progressed through the week, and we are celebrating our Spartans on Monday by wearing green. So it's going to be a green day at Stevenson on Monday.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do because, again, it's acknowledging what happened, because even though our children in elementary schools obviously weren't there, we're all affected by this as a community. They're hearing parents talk about it. They might be hearing the news. They might have siblings or family members there. So everyone, to some degree, they're involved in this, you know, to an extent. So providing that support in school, because we know if you're traumatized or if you are affected by this, the learning isn't going to be done until that's processed. So I think that's so important that we kind of set that aside sometimes and focus on the social emotional needs and what the kids need to get through the day and to get back to that learning.
And one thing I love about Stevenson is you have people and resources there to do just that.
Absolutely. We put a heavy focus on integrated supports for students. So not only do we have a full-time social worker, we have a partnership with Easter Seals. And so they are on our campus providing direct support to kids as needed. And so that is definitely one of the pillars of it being a community school, that those services must be on hand every day for kids.
Teachers, we were talking about a little bit earlier, teachers, principals, you're all mothers, or to all 500 plus or however many kids that you have. Is there a difficulty in, I guess, wanting to comfort them a mom way versus an administrative way? Or do you just sometimes in moments like this let the barrier come down and
Definitely, it's been a mom week, Mama Bear week, or Auntie Tonya week. It's definitely been that kind of week. Yeah, definitely that kind of week at Stevenson.
Gosh, it's been a lot to process.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for teachers maybe who are trying to have this discussion with their children?
Yeah, I think just like what we've already said, it's important to kind of acknowledge those feelings and to take care of yourself, because as teachers, you might be dealing with this on the home front, like in your situation, and then you also have to walk into a school building and be responsible for all those little lives there who are also dealing with this. And that's very, very hard to do. So making sure that you're taking care of yourself as parents and as teachers, so that you can be there for the kids, and whatever that means. If that means taking a few days off, if that means seeking out counseling, if that means, you know, going to your administrator and asking for support, there are supports out there. So I think it's really important to take care of yourself so that you can be there for all these little people that you have.
Yeah, well, coming up after the break, we're going to look at a very unique way that Principal Hickman has her kids processing what happened, and we're going to talk a lot more about it, so stay with us.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Macomb County. Hi, we're CBS News Detroit. But we don't just cover the news here. We're also here, and everywhere in between. You know, the places you live, work, and play in Southeast Michigan. We're talking less of this, and more of the stories that actually matter to you.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock.
That's right, local news just found a home in your neighborhood. We're CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Nice to meet you. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Wayne County. CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Monroe County.
CBS News Detroit, the stories you care about.
Live, streaming, and on demand. We're on your block, around the clock.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it.
We live here. We work here.
From North Branch to Southgate.
East Point to Westland.
Wherever you live, we're here for you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
CBS News Detroit, live, streaming, and on demand. Building a better newscast, one story at a time.
CBS News Detroit, on your block, around the clock in Oakland County. It's here, the news CBS News Detroit.
Covering every corner of our community.
With experienced journalists, uncovering the stories that truly matter to you.
Making a difference in your neighborhood.
And weather experts, always looking ahead to prepare you for what's next. Live, streaming, and on demand, with more hours of local news coming soon.
Southeast Michigan news whenever you want it, right here on CBS News Detroit.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 11, and streaming live.
Understanding why school shootings continue to happen isn't easy for adults, so let alone the kids. But one Southfield Elementary School, Stevenson, has shown us that love is a universal language.
All right, do we have our desk clear?
Another Tuesday at Stevenson Elementary School in Southfield.
I am going to give everybody one sheet of white paper.
But not just another art project. Tell me what happened at Michigan State.
What happened was a school got shoot up and some kids had died and some kids had injury.
There was some confusion.
I do know there was shooting and they caught him, but I barely know what happened.
Questions.
I want to know, why did the man want us to do that? Why would that shooter go up there and shoot him?
And feelings.
Sad. It makes me feel sad because I don't know why people are still killing other people. I'm like a very emotional girl, and I don't really like when people pass away. Because it's not right to just come up to Michigan State University and start shooting. I have to be cautious of my surroundings.
Does that make you scared?
So now the students are putting pencil to paper.
Let's do something for the students that are going to need a lot of encouragement. And so we made the announcement that we wanted students to write letters to the staff and students at Michigan State University, just giving them some encouraging words
to help show support.
I think they're going to make them feel really special. Can I share mine?
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Adrian, and I'm praying for you. Then I have MSU. Then I hope justice will be served. We lift you in blessing.
We are with you no matter what. We are hoping that the people that died went to a better place.
Even if they don't understand.
To the parents, I would say that I'm sorry for your loss of your loved ones, but just remember that you always have them in your heart.
Something about that, you can't help but to smile, the innocence and the sweetness, but also they seem a little bit destigmatized to it, whereas, we're not. That's just, so how did you come up with that idea?
So just in the morning announcements, I had just seconds before, I had watched the news conference, and I watched the physician that was attending to the patients at Sparrow Hospital break down, the police chief, and when I got to the announcements, I was fine. And at that moment, I fell apart. And so I said, we have to do something to show our support, to give encouragement to others. And I said, let's start a letter writing drive for Michigan State staff and students. And so everyone is so excited. Even the kinders have put some amazing pieces of art together, or words together, to show their support and encouragement for Michigan State students and staff.
That idea was awesome, but I honestly think the reaction and the excellent letters came because they saw you emotional. And so is there, as parents and adults, we shouldn't necessarily hide how we feel in front of our children, or should we?
No, I think it's important to be honest. We're all human, we're all experiencing this, and we all have feelings, and that makes our kids know that it's okay to have those feelings too. I think what we want to be careful of is just not completely losing ourselves and having a hard time keeping it together in front of our kids to the point where it's affecting them and they're taking on our feelings. So there's a balance there. But I think it's definitely okay as an adult to say, I'm struggling with this too. Kids know, and they know if we say we are together and we're all good, they also know if that's not true. So I think it's important to really acknowledge that, and it's okay to say I'm feeling the same way.
Right. So if they're having some issues at Stevenson, what do you all have in place?
So Southfield Public Schools also have a plethora of resources available. We are definitely working with Ascension Hospital as well as Easter Seal and our Intense Student Support Network team that are providing therapy, small group sessions for our scholars.
Should they need it.
Absolutely.
And Naomi, for people who are not in that district, should they need some help, what resources are available?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there at Bloomfield Child and Family Counseling, where I'm at. We're offering free sessions for college students and their families, anyone impacted, all through this next week, so people can reach out and call. We have locations in Farmington and West Bloomfield, and also we can do virtual appointments. But there's also a lot of other supports. There's the 988 Michigan number that we have that you can text or call anytime you are feeling like you're in a mental health emergency or just need to process what's going on. In addition, the state of Michigan has the Michigan Stay Well program that they implemented during COVID, which is support groups, therapy. They also have a number that you can call, if you look that up, where someone will be there 24/7. And I know at MSU as well, they have a 24/7 number right now, hotline as well, that people can call to contact to get support. So there's a lot of things out there. People just reach out for them.
We could talk more, I think, for a long time about this, but quickly before we go, Principal Hickman, final thoughts.
The sun will shine again, and we cannot become desensitized to everything that is happening around us. And so somewhere, we just have to hope for better days, because our kids deserve it. We have to figure out how to fix this. If it's mental health, if it's gun control, we have to fix this.
Yeah, we do. I agree. Yes. And final thoughts, Naomi?
Yeah, just along the same lines, we have to figure out a way to fix this. And so I would encourage people to take those feelings, work through your feelings, but then that anger that you might be feeling right now, like many of us, take that anger and try to do some good with it. Let's advocate for change. Let's see what we can do, support each other, our community here through this crisis, and not let that anger destroy you. Let's see what we can do to make change with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate both of you so much, not only for being here, but also for doing what you do. I witnessed Principal Hickman treating those kids just like her own babies, and witness also to all of the awesomeness that comes out of Bloomfield families with the children. So thank you both so much for sharing us. And again, we will have those resources on our website. A special thanks to them, and a special thanks to you for joining us. We will see you later tonight on CBS Detroit. Have a wonderful evening.